Hi everyone and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to answer the question, when should you replace your nibs for your Copic markers? I have 3 markers here. 2 of them are valid reasons to change up, and one is where you most likely won't be able to fix the problem by changing a nib, and therefore I have other things you can do for that. On a little note, I have this little tweezers by Copic. These are definitely the easiest way to remove and replace your nib. You want to get as far in on your nib like this when you pull it out. So that is how you change your nibs. These are the replacement nibs. They come in a package of 3 and they're pretty simple to change out. But yeah, when should you? We're going to start with this marker and I'm going to show you when you probably can't change your nib. And that is when your nib looks like this. Hope this shows up on the camera. This marker has a whole bunch of like crystallization on the nib, and it's also not very wet. It's very dry. If it is wet and have crystallizations, just use some colorless blender on a cotton pad and just wipe it carefully off, and your pen will be as good as new, because sometimes when a pen is very new you can get pigment crystallization on it. In this case, however, it is super dry, and the reason why it happened to be this way is because this lid actually have a hairline crack. I don't know if you can see it, but it's usually in that deeper end of the cap. So these caps are double capped, so you have the outer ring that is capped, and then you have the inner ring there that is capped, and that helps keep them wet and work. And in this case it's a hairline crack, but you can also dry out your pen if you don't keep them clean. So if it's ink on this part and ink on this outer part, you don't get that good kind of closing when you do that. Then your pen can dry out. However, in this case, it's a hairline crack. If you have a hairline crack, I've heard that you can contact Copic to get new lids. In my case, I really needed a new pen, so I bought a new pen. This is an old one, and I kept it for this video, actually. I've been planning it for a couple of years. So now we have the reason when you're going to change your nibs. This one is very clear reason why. If you look at the outer tip there, it has like a little like beading on top. When you draw with your markers, they will you draw on the paper, so they will run out. You're gonna need to change your nibs. If you refill your markers, you're gonna need to change your nibs on a semi-regular basis. I've changed like 9 nibs in total on my whole set, but this one is clearly needed a new nib because of that. I tried to cut that little beading off once, and my marker or my brush got very blunt, and it was hard to make fine lines with it, so I don't recommend it. However, if you're going to change the nib anyhow, you can always try. That's a clear reason. And then we have the last reason, and it doesn't show up very well on this pen. When you use your markers a lot and you refill them a lot, there will come a time when your nib starts being saturated by the pigment, and you will see that with when you're coloring, the color is much darker than it's supposed to be or have been in the past. But also what I have noticed is when that nib gets very saturated, the ink won't flow as it should, which means that even if you have refilled your pen perfectly and it's still full with ink, when you color, it feels dry. That is the time you need to switch out your nibs, because then it has been saturated with pigment. When you switch out your nib, it will run clear again, and you will get that good quality color that you really like. So yeah, those are the 2 reasons when you should change your nibs, and that 1 reason when it's a little bit hard to change your nib. But because this one needs a change, I want to show you how to change your nibs. I do have a video on how to refill these, and I will link it in the description down below if you wondered. This is the nib, or how you change your nib. You go in and carefully at the base of the brush, you just hold on and don't press too hard, just pull it out. And there you go. You have removed your nib. And then you just take one of these new nibs and you just push it in to like that. And there you go. There you have a new nib. Now you just place your nib. In some cases you're gonna need to just open up here. You can just keep the cap on lying like this, but this is more for pressure. Sometimes you have too high of a pressure in the barrel, so the ink don't want to go out in the nib. If you just open here, you can reduce that pressure, and then it can start doing this. So this is how it looks. I really like how it does. Looking at this, the whole when the nib starts being saturated with the ink. And this is actually a pretty good showing also. You already saw it when I pulled out the nib, that the nib itself is much darker than the barrel, and that is when your nib is saturated. I've had this marker for a very long time and I use it a lot, and I have refilled it a couple of times, but you see the difference in color of the nibs also. So this is a nib that is starting to be saturated with pigment, while this is a nib that is new and not saturated. So there you can see that example. Also, just so you know, Copic have changed their refills. So this is the old refills, which I never used. So I still have the plastic on it, but this is the old refill. They had 25 milliliter of ink, and this is the new refill, which only have 12 milliliter of ink. You can still refill your pen, I think up to 6 times for a Copic with this refill. It's a good purchase if you use certain markers very much. Invest in those refills that you need. I usually buy new refills when I notice that some of my markers dry out, and I have a little collection by now. But yes, that was all from me today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you later. Bye!